Q&A here on this beautiful Sunday and just kind of talk randomly about some things that I've been watching and listening to and perspective, because I think that perspective is kind of everything, and perspective has a lot to do with where we're all at in our hair loss journey, because like changing our perspective changes everything about the way that we feel about our hair, what we're willing to do, and the steps that we're sort of willing to take. So also, I've had a couple of people ask about, they that want to ask questions. I've had them ask when I'm going to be on. So make sure you ring the notification bell, because if you click the notification bell, then either you get notified somehow, whether you're on YouTube, it like pops up, or an email if you're on like an email list, automatic email thing from YouTube, but whatever it is, make sure if you want to catch these live things, because I just do them randomly. I just kind of do them when I was just in the shower a few minutes ago and I thought, you know what, maybe I'll go live. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about quantum physics recently, and I am by no means an expert in quantum physics, but I really love videos about quantum physics because they blow my mind, sort of. No, not that. I think that's a little bit too elementary to say. It's because I feel like they change my perspective. So, and that's how I think it sort of relates to hair a little bit. So, the first video I watched, this was sort of like a recent quantum physics thing that got me down this rabbit hole, or black rabbit hole, pun intended, of quantum physics. Is anyway, I laugh at my own joke. I think it's kind of funny. Black rabbit hole. Black hole rabbit, I don't know. So was this video called the double slit experiment. So if you guys watch this, the double slit experiment, please let me know. But if not, then I highly recommend you go here on YouTube, punch in double slit experiment, and watch like 3 videos about the double slit experiment. It is unbelievable. It basically proves, or in a way that they can't explain, that our universe acts differently based on whether we are observing it or not. Almost like that, like in the movie Toy Story, how the toys only actually act and like do anything when no humans are watching them. And that's the crazy thing, is that they show through this experiment that our universe acts differently based on whether we're watching it act or not, which is incredible. Then I started going down, the black rabbit hole of black holes and learning about them, and the concepts of like space travel within black holes, and how, I don't even completely understand it, but basically how the idea of space travel seems reasonable within the concept of black holes, which we know do exist. So it just sort of like, this is the reason I like watching this stuff, is because it gives a new perspective to the way that I think about life daily. So I think most of us, we analyze the minutia in our lives, I know I do, and I don't think that I do it as bad as like a lot of people, but I notice like small things, or I go on Instagram and just see someone's doing something, and I sort of start thinking about these things, or what my family is doing, or like all of the sort of like small things in life. And it's easy to, when I say small, it's all small based on whether we think it is or not. But um, then when I sort of balance doing that and my daily normal thoughts out with thoughts about time travel and other universes, other galaxies, other life forms, potential life forms on other, and the idea of the expanse of time, or even like what we even know to be time, or things that Elon Musk has a really interesting point about this, where he talks about Pong, the first video game, and then how like Pong, was just these two dots on a little screen, and that wasn't that long ago, like 40 years ago or so. And it was these two dots on the screen bouncing back and forth, and that was the most advanced video game in the world. Like, it was like no one could have even imagined that 20 years before that. And yet now we have 3D video games where it feels almost like real life. And he said that even if we slow down to like less than 100 times what our current speed of video games and things are, that basically within not that many years, reality as we currently know it would be like reality and non-reality should be completely blurred. Like video games should be to the point where we don't even know if it's a game or not, based on the way that we've sort of improved games. So I thought, anyway, I think that that's super interesting. I think sometimes. Okay, now I'll get into the hair stuff. By the way, any questions that you have, like throw them up here. This is really a Q&A. This is just me talking until I get some questions. Yeah, I sometimes think about that idea of like religion and like if that, like in Christianity, there is the other world where God is, right? And then there's here this world where we are. And so really, if you believe in most religions, that other world is actually like the home base. It's like the actual like base reality, right? So we're not in the base reality. Really, God is in the base reality, and then we just are here in this sort of video game that we play until we die. And sort of every religion is based around that idea that there is this other place, this heaven or hell or this other world that exists, and that's the real base reality. That's the real where all the that's the real true world, the important world. And then this is just this sort of like world where we exist for a little while to worship God or to whatever. So, but if you think about that in terms of video game, that's almost like or it's really the same thing as like if we got into played a 3D game right now, right? Then if we play this 3D game, then we're in the base reality, and then the 3D game that we're playing is non-reality. It's sort of the game that we play until we die, in that game. So anyway, I thought like this is something I thought of like a year or two ago, and I was like, oh wow. So actually, most religions sort of go off like the idea of that we're in a video game, like this reality is a video game. So yeah, something I think about sometimes. So anyway, perspective. So I think that when it comes to hair, what I've noticed in all of these, through myself and other people that I talk to, is whatever their perspective is their happiness. So I have guys write me on a pretty regular basis that have really amazing hair, like great hair, better hair than I'll probably ever have, and their hairline has receded, and they're like talking, they want to get a hair transplant. They're like, hey David, like look, my hairline's receded, like look, it used to be right here and now it's right here. And I look at them and I go, wow, like their hair. I told one guy, you have like some of the best hair I've ever seen in my life. Like, why do you want to get a hair transplant? But his perspective is that, well, it used to be this, and then now it's this. It's no longer what it used to be. So my perspective is my hair is no longer good. Then I'll talk to other guys that are in that same kind of perspective that actually their hair isn't that good, but like if they would use some concealer in their hair, like some concealer product, then their hair would be amazing. Like it would look awesome. And I will go, hey, well, if you just use like some concealer product, your hair would look really good. By the way, I'll show my hair here. Let me do that. I'm not using any concealer product. I just got out of the shower. But this is my current hair. I'm like almost at 2 months after my last hair transplant. I don't think I've really gotten much growth yet, because usually you don't really get much until about 3 months, but that's my current hair. Here's the back. So That's the back, and then let me do the all important head down move. So that's it right there. All right. So yeah. So but they'll be like, well, I don't want to use concealer, you know? And their perspective is that their hair was like this, they want it to be that. And if they use concealer, their perspective is like, well, that's not the same. And so I don't want that. I don't care about my hair looking the same. I want it to be the same, you know? Though with the little concealer product, it would actually look the same, you know, for all intents and purposes. Um, and actually, to be funny enough, I didn't ever use concealer product in my hair until after like my second hair transplant, I think, or so. I wish I would have used it years ago. I wish I would have, like, I didn't even know that it existed. Even when before I ever got a hair transplant, I wish I would have used it for like music videos and things like that. Um, I would have been, I think, totally cool with it. But yeah, I talk to other guys that don't have hair that's nearly as good as those guys, the two that the two kinds of people that I just talked about. And they'll write me. I had a guy actually just email me a couple weeks ago, and he was like emailing me and showing me his hair with concealer. And he was like, look, David, like, look how amazing my hair looks. It looks so good. And this guy was like super bald. So now he's had a couple hair transplants, and it's gotten him to the point that with concealer, his hair looks amazing. So without concealer, it doesn't look that great. But with concealer, he's got enough hair because of the hair transplants that now his hair looks awesome. And he was just so excited. He was like, I won. Look, I can go out every day and this is my own hair. Yes, I've got concealer product in, but it looks incredible. And you know, it's just a different perspective. So for his perspective, just getting back to where, you know, he could even potentially look good at all was like good enough. So it's really interesting how each of these different little steps, a person's perspective changes, and it completely changes like what their entire concept of success is in any kind of way, and their level of happiness. Um, I think that's one of the most interesting, most beneficial things about having had these hair transplants for me, actually, is my changes in perspective over time of success and of confidence in my own hair and how good it needs to look or doesn't need to look. Or after I got my last hair transplant, like I can go out and walk, you know, in any public place with like scabs on my head and not be like, you know, not be shy about that or anything. And that comes with a lot of just perspective of knowing, oh, well, I've already had surgeries. Like, surgery's no big deal. Like, I've got the perspective of having had lots of these. It's going to grow back. I'm going to look great in the future. Like, my perspective is everything's going to be awesome. So who cares about this very temporary position that I'm in, you know? All right, cool. So, well, I've only gotten, I think, one question. So let's answer that question. And if you have any more, and then I'm gonna get going. This is my studio right here, my recording studio, and it's my mute for my music and everything. And so there's my tracking rooms. Let me show you here real quick. This is my guitar amp room back here, and then I got my drum room, and all my guitars over there. And yeah, so I'm gonna get going with doing some recording today. All right, but yeah, let me get a couple questions real quick before I sign off. Thanks for watching, guys. What cryptocurrencies are you holding? That's a good question, kind of. I mean, so I actually currently hold no cryptocurrencies. I actually heavily invested in Bitcoin and a bunch of other cryptocurrencies back a few years ago, and then there was a huge crash. If you guys remember, big Bitcoin went up to about $18,000, $19,000, and then went down to close to about $3,000. And I needed the money for some other investments, so I actually took the loss on that, and I lost about $30,000 in cryptocurrency. That was my net loss. Obviously, if I would have held that, would have, because I think I sold like 6 Bitcoin Yeah, all for like $4,000 each or so. So yeah, and 6 Bitcoin would be worth at current prices. I don't know, what is that? Like, I don't, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Um, so yeah, I took a loss on that, and I haven't bought in since then. I haven't bought. I mean, I actually studied cryptocurrency a lot back at that time, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll buy in at all, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know if I will. The thing I don't like about cryptocurrencies is I'm not really good at just holding forever. And with those kinds of things, they're just so volatile that I'm not good at like never checking it. And if you buy cryptocurrency, you need to just buy it and put it on like a treasure type thing and then just put it somewhere and never look at the price for like 10 years. And I'm not really good at doing that. So, yeah. So I don't know if I will. Because I just don't want it in my mind. Um, So I don't know. I don't know if I'll buy any cryptocurrency, but maybe I'll just like buy a Bitcoin. I've been thinking about that, just like buying one Bitcoin and just holding my breath, putting it on a Trezor or something and not checking it. If I could manage to do that, but I don't know if it's worth it. I mean, $30,000, maybe it becomes worth $1 million, but even so, I don't know if it's really worth it. I've got a lot of other good investments that I really like that have really steady, great returns. So I loan a lot of money. That's like one of the main things that I do. Um, yeah, I loan out money to investors. So anywhere like 12 to 18% interest um, as mortgages for people that are flipping homes and things. And so that's really solid interest. And it's kind of been my main thing, other than just things that I already own, like houses and stuff. Okay. So, America is Mystery Babylon says, sorry, I meant to say, which doctors in the United States do body hair transplant on the scalp using body hair? The only one that I know of, I'm sure there are probably others, but the only one that I know of is Dr. Patrick Mwamba, the guy who did my beard hair transplant. Yeah. So, Dr. Patrick Mwamba and Dr. Truo Bridges. So they work in Brussels, Belgium, and in Atlanta, Georgia. So in those two places. Rawl says, how long does it take to see results from exosomes? So exosomes, yeah, just to say, I kind of said this wrong because I talked about exosomes, but actually exosomes are all over your body. And so the actual thing that I got is called Zoflo. So that's like a specific product, Zoflo. So it's like, yeah. So to just say, how long does it say exosomes? Well, you have exosomes all, tons of them all over your body. And anyone can say that they're injecting exosomes into you, but it doesn't mean that it's going to actually do anything. So, okay, sorry. Raw says, I meant to say Zoflo for the scalp. I think it's typically like a couple of months, maybe like 2 months or something like that before you would see any results. So, but you would have to ask about that, like really ask an expert. I've had them injected into me, and I feel like my hair got stronger after that, and I did see some improvement in my hair overall, like some obvious in pictures I could, look and see definite improvement. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I think all Dr. McGrath for sure would say that it's still like a supplementary treatment, you know? Yeah. So hair transplant is the more sure way to fix an issue with your hair. I think Dr. McGrath really likes to use the Zoflo product when doing hair transplants. That's his preferred thing, is to do that because he feels like it boosts, or he's seen it boost like healing time with the hair transplants, boost the results that he's getting. And then also just boosting other hair and helping the donor hair. Sometimes he's done Zoflo injections prior to doing a hair transplant, like, I don't know, 6 months prior or so, to actually boost the donor hair, because it really seems to thicken up donor hair as well, to make someone a better hair transplant candidate. So, but yeah, as far as exact timeline, it's really hard to say. It's hard to say how anyone heals. It's the same as a hair transplant. You could say, well, some people don't start getting much growth until 4 or 5 months, after a hair transplant. Other people start getting it, 2 to 3 months. So it kind of just depends. Firecrack says, what's the best way to get through to someone who still believes in the world being a sphere? I have no idea. In the world being a sphere. I don't know. That's an interesting question. I'll have to do more research on the world as a sphere and get back to you. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to head out. This was fun. Thanks for the couple of questions, and hope you found my rant on perspectives and quantum physics. Definitely check out the double slit experiment video. Check that out, and yeah, and we will talk soon. See you guys. Bye.